LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Electricast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli, your host of this podcast, Let's Talk Soul. And as always, I have today a guest. With me, there is Louis Brantmeyer. Would you like to say hello to our audience?
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you. Now, he's talking to us from Austin, Texas. He is a bit mysterious in the way he wants me to present him, but what I can say is that the most important thing is that his practice aims to awaken the love that never leaves in people so that they can thrive better in all aspects of their lives, in all interpersonal relations, business relations, sexuality, and dating. Now, that's a tall order, and I thought, let me go knock on this guy's door. I have problems dating. Let's start at the beginning. So what's a nice boy like you doing in Austin?
So I moved here to go from socially awkward, anxious, introverted nerd and trust fall into the arms of a community that would help me figure out that part of my life that eventually also springboarded me into the world of entrepreneurship, transformation, healing, and my current career as a coach, author, public speaker, all the things.
Now, when you talk that was fast. That was a man of a few words. You got it 2 sentences, not even. You gave me the whole talk. So you have always lived in Austin, I gather not. Is that right? From what I've been...
No,
okay. So
I moved from New Orleans about 12 years ago to do that whole trust fall process.
Oh, okay. So that's quite a background. So let's say you spent a long time in New Orleans?
Yeah, about 20 years.
Wow. I'm always so envious of people who, when they mention New Orleans, because I've never been there. I've traveled a lot of places in the United States, but I never got to New Orleans. All right. So let's talk about this transformation and what are you actually doing? What do you do? I come to you, I find your website that I'll put in the description of this episode. And I'm having trouble all of a sudden. I can't interact with anyone. What do you do? Do you give me a test? Do you give me a talk? Do you say, I can't work with you because I don't feel I'm compatible with you? What is your intake? How does that work?
Yeah, so I always start with a discovery conversation. Sometimes I collapse with market research because if someone says they have a problem in the realm of dating, relationship, intimacy, it's supportive for me to expand my knowledge and awareness by listening to the depths and specificity of their problem, even if they're not a good fit for me to work with them. And as I hear them speak or share whatever they're dealing with or focused on, I may invite them as a test to consume specific content and thus unlock some actual coaching with me, a very light, short, brief coaching call.
Give me an example. How does this test work? I'm already taking a step back. Why are you going to... He's going to give me a test.
And then I test to see if their coaching, that their coachability is strong. Coachability is a willingness to learn and a willingness to change measured by size of action and speed of implementation. So if I give them gold, they could actually solve their problem without me, and they don't watch it or they don't implement it or they don't integrate it. What that means, demonstrates, and proves is that they actually need someone else outside of them to hold them accountable, to rattle their cage, to kick them in the butt, to remove the resistance that's in their blind spots or limiting beliefs or subconscious stuckness. And so when we get onto that next call, either they've made progress with the material and they're looking for support implementing and integrating, because nobody can do that fully on their own. And then they're curious how much farther they can go. And we then have a deep conversation about whether or not they're qualified. I don't even want to consider somebody who's not coachable because it's a waste of my time and theirs at every level.
Of course. But can you tell me what a red flag would be for you?
Yeah. So if someone, and being that this is my business, one red flag is they're broke.
I understand fully.
Interestingly enough, I have training called Money Magic Alignment that me and a friend of mine put together that I give away for free if somebody is broke, and then they won't be anymore if they are coachable with that. But it's not my job to chase a broke person or to save them from wherever they're at. It's my job to find those who can invest at a level that respects them and the value of what I offer to make the biggest difference. And I work so that I can give more, right? I make more to give more and show up in places like this and donate my time to organizations, to people, to conversations where I can make a difference without having to worry about taking care of me. Then the intake looks like this. I ask them what their desires are, what their vision is, what their challenges are. And if I'm qualified, if I feel that it's an actual appropriate good fit, given my awareness of who they are and what they need, I may suggest coaching with me, or I may suggest other things, depending on what they actually require. So does that answer your original question?
Yeah, that does to a certain extent. When you say, you suggest something else, do you have any group coaching programs that you could turn them to? You can push them there, or is always on a one-to-one basis?
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanize with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered. Electricast.
Depends on the person. Depends on their level of work required, then their capacity to invest, and then what would really make the biggest difference for them. Yeah, I have both. I haven't done a group coaching program in some time because I have such effective recorded material. I can just put that in front of them, and if they take it seriously, they can come to me for other calls for integration and implementation support and for facilitation. I coach, I consult, and I facilitate. Coaching means asking questions that provoke great answers. Consulting is telling them what to do and giving them recipes for where to go. Facilitation is getting what they may perceive to be themselves, consciously or their ego, whatever, out of the way so they can be powerful and effective either way, either with what they already know or what I give them.
Okay. Now, I want to dive into certain things, but I'd like to get a couple of more questions about your practice out of the way. In your experience, what is the length of time that a person stays with you? Of course, it's individual, obviously, but an average time of coaching on your part with them individually. Do you have an idea of that?
Yeah, some people have been with me for years because they just love the presence and attention I can give them. Most people, I like to say neurologically, it's 21 days to make a new habit, 90 days to make it you. So between 3 and 4 months, if they have a very focused, refined, specific goal, objective, intention, then we can usually get it taken care of in that time. If they're 100% coachable, if they're prioritizing and their plate is empty, but for what work we're doing together. And sometimes I get personal development junkies who are like, oh, I'm doing 5 things. And I'm like, okay, this will go further faster if you do just this and focus all in on this. But we can go at your pace, your path, and your process is perfect, even if you want it to take longer.
Do you mind me asking what you did before this?
Yeah, no problem. I don't mind at all.
Okay.
So I graduated with a degree in philosophy
Uh-huh.
from the University of New Orleans. And I was a bartender for a little bit. In a period of pretty deep depression, a friend of mine invited me to a transformational seminar that really helped me. And as I spent more and more time studying and involving myself in that world, I eventually turned around and realized, oh, I have a lot of value and I've achieved a lot in myself that other people haven't, that I can support them with. So I spent a stint of time working as an account executive at a brain supplement startup called Brain Juice. Our product
I've
went
heard of that.
national.
Yeah.
Have you? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our positive ways, I had someone talk to me about it in not such a positive light. But this was many years ago.
We found that somewhere between 0.5 and 2% of people had a dramatically perpendicular response to the standard dose and experience. Like the alpha glycerol phosphorylcholine that we put in there is used in Europe to treat Alzheimer's patients for memory problems. Here, it's a very powerful powdered supplement that will help you remember things you didn't realize you ever learned and get really focused. And it's like the drug from that guy on Limitless, the movie with Bradley Cooper. He starts to have a lot of creativity and capacity unleashed and unlocked. And if I hadn't spent months consuming the product on my own and experienced that for myself, I would have never taken on the job. But we did have a couple times, like there was a Whole Foods, whole body department head in New Orleans, actually, who took it and was like, brain fog, and it was very difficult. And this is the thing about all pharmaceuticals or supplements that have real staying powers. There's a dose response curve that for the bell curve of humans will produce a regular range of results, but you always have outliers and fringe people. Anyway, I'm no longer a stockholder. I'm no longer part of the administration, but I do respect the brand and I would still use it. I've found other supplements and created my own stacks, but the coaching programs I was in at the end of that part of my career as I was working with Brain Juice led me to realize, okay, I want to help people with dating and relationship coaching because that's what I've been helped with. And there's a lot available here. So that's the journey.
You mentioned philosophy. You got a degree in philosophy. Can you specify that a bit more? This program, did it have a specialization? Do you have a certain area that you lean on? Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, given that it was a bachelor's degree, there was no heavy requirement for specialization or a thesis the way a PhD program would.
Yeah.
I did write a thesis. It was on an aesthetics of suicide. And the fun piece for the readers, we look at the psychological research behind suicide. Most people who are considering it are depressed, which means their mind is biased in a direction that has them not present to all the possibilities or available options for dealing with whatever is ailing them.
It's so interesting. How did you do that? Where did you go to get information when you wrote this? How did you work on it?
At the time, I myself was dealing with that depression. And I was thinking, if suicide can be an artwork, then why not make life an artwork? And then why not stay alive? That's the basic underlying suggestion of the thing ethically. But metaphysically, it was just a really interesting question. So I studied Foucault, I studied Seneca, I studied the Stoics. And as a philosopher, where you go is texts, where you go is books, where you go is the people who read, taught, and thought previously to you in the philosophical canon. And Foucault had a really sarcastic interview where he said, oh, you should be able to choose the gun and the time of day and all this other stuff.
Of course.
And so the idea was really his. I just elaborated on it and tried to make it more rigorous. And I think I got a B on that. Yeah. Could have been better. Really could have. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have the advantage of video, and I'm looking at him, of course, and he's gesticulating a lot. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, Monticelli, right? That's an Italian name.
Do you have a background? Living in New Orleans is not everybody lives in New Orleans. Okay, that is next on my bucket list. But do you have any kind of French background at all?
I studied French. Is the closest I got, but
no, it's family in heritage, your family tree. Your roots.
Yeah, Irish and German is as close as we get to those parts of Europe. So there was the Heenies on my grandmother's side, and then the Brantmeyers, were Germans. My great grandfather.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, we have this philosophical background, which really, I hate even to say it, but I will. Everybody should do a BA, at least in philosophy, and then choose to do something else, right? After, if they want to go on. But I have here interest that you yourself wrote me on mysticism as a topic. And mysticism also is very particular, neurotheology and neuromysticism. Can we touch on that? Because mysticism is always a very abstract notion and hard to grasp. Would you mind starting somewhere with that?
Yeah, so I promise the context will get sharper and more specific as I go through this.
His hands are telling me that. I believe him.
I picked up coaching in part because of the philosophical distinguishing work that I saw being done in direct pragmatic support of people thriving in life through organizations like Landmark or Mastery Systems or the Global Information Network. And what I see in mysticism is a solution to the human hunger for meaning making, for freedom from the mind, and for an experience ongoing of love. And it's not some high and mighty, abstract, esoteric thing. I experienced it on day 3 of the Landmark Forum. There were distinctions. Go ahead.
You mentioned, this is why I'm pinning you to this, neurotheology and mysticism. That's why I thought, let me pin him down now. Just don't throw love at me over that. I know you said you promise it will be coherent in the end, so maybe I should zip it and you continue talking. Sorry.
It's all right. I'm enjoying this. So the fact of the matter is, we can put a helmet on someone and cause them to experience a felt presence of God.
Okay.
That Michael Persinger has what's called the God helmet through transcranial magnetic induction. Depending on the person, it'll activate certain parts of their brain and they'll feel a presence in the room. You put atheists in it, they'll be like, I feel a presence, but that's not God.
Okay.
Or you can give someone, as we know from the Good Friday experiment.
Please tell us about the Good Friday experiments. Before a lot of listeners will not know.
So when I say as we know, I'm saying as a scientific community, as the world at large, like we know. And I'm happy to explain. Psychedelics were given to a series of psychiatrists, psychologists, and researchers. And depending on their personal beliefs and background, they tended to point to it and say, this was a profound mystical experience for me. And there are a lot of other studies with a lot of other psychedelics, for example. But it is my contention, standing on the backs of giants like Shinzen Young in the Science of Enlightenment, or Dr. Jeffrey Martin and his 45 Days to Awakening program and his Finders research, where he interviewed people, not just those who were seeking through meditation, but those who had actually anecdotes and self-reports about experiencing penetrating into divine realms inside themselves, or unitary consciousness, or whatever. We can look at all this and say, all right, given the right amount of time and specific effort, deployment of technology, everyone around the world could have an induction of mystical experiences through neuroscience. Does that mean that all they are is neuroscience? Unclear. I have a whole spiritual community called the Mystic Crew where we ask questions like that.
Yeah.
And so then the fact that these states exist becomes an obvious, evident, real benefit and boon to human society, to human flourishing. And what I know from both the Landmark Forum and programs like Awaken Life Live is that even without direct neurological or neurochemical intervention, through conversation, through community, through prayer and meditation held in those spaces, an experience of a love that never leaves, or ultimate freedom from whatever meanings our minds have made up, be they disempowering or simply the ones we've defaulted to, can like reliably induce and produce an experience of higher thriving than what most people have in life. But once we know that that's the real thing, let's activate.
You've made it coherent so far. This is good. Now, I have, all right, the mysticism in there, and we could talk till the cows come home about the philosophy and the mysticism. It just is never, there's always that blind spot or the miscommunication or the experience that you missed. But when we talk about love, if we want to get really abstract, that's abstract, but it's not as abstract as we think. Let's jump. Okay, I'm going to jump to dating, relationships. Dating is one thing, relationships is another, sexuality is another. I wouldn't to put them in a minestrone type of thing, but I'd like to talk about them separately. And then we could, if we want to put it in a big soup, we could do that. Now, dating. All right. So today it's any person's guess how they meet somebody. There's the sky's the limit. Now, there's this element that is called trust, especially that's in question constantly because of how we meet someone. I'm meeting you now, but we're in a computer. Before I saw you, I didn't know if it was a Lewis or not. Couldn't know. Yeah. The element of trust is always put on the line. It's being tested. When you mentioned being tested, I thought of trust immediately. Can we, in some way, put trust in a discussion of sexuality or dating or relationships? Is that asking too much?
No, it's not. We could actually address all three at once. I don't generally trust how people's mouths move. In general,
what do you mean?
Behavior is the highest form of communication. I use how people's feet move to discern their character. Mm-hmm. So what do they do consistently, reliably over time? And yeah, if somebody says they're going to be on time and then they're not on time, most humans have that problem where they've got a weak relationship to their word. They don't honor their word. They break their promises and agreements left and right. With excuses, they let themselves off the hook. Like, I don't judge that. Judge would be to make it bad or wrong. I discern what works or doesn't work given who I'm committed to being, who I'm committed to being with, and whether or not I can allow someone to be with me based on their integrity, their relationship to their word, and then how they act. While we train other people in how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. So that points to self-care. And then we also invite what we tolerate. If I notice that they're engaging with me in a way that I don't choose, that isn't ideal, that isn't optimal for me.
Can you give me an example of that? They're engaging with me in a manner that I do not choose. So we could be tangible here.
Yeah. I'm not of a mind to give a gift to someone who's not willing, eager, available, or committed in receiving it. A gift.
In a box or the gift of your time?
The gift of my time, my attention, my being, my energy, my affection, my love, my respect. It's a commitment I have to be in an equally energetically aligned reciprocal connection and relationship. So in dating, I'll distinguish whether or not they merit my trust. And I may even comment on, hey, do you realize that you were late or you did this thing and it was perpendicular to who you said you were going to be? And I'll invite them gently into the opportunity to operate from within the realm of relational commitment that can actually make a relationship work. If somebody doesn't honor their word, well, the relationship's going to suck. It's going to break down. And so I need to know early on and be clear as quickly as possible. Are they willing to play the game of practicing in that direction or not? They don't have to be perfect, but they do need to be moving. Their feet need to be moving in a direction where we can flow together. Otherwise, there's no point in trying.
And you've got to see their feet.
I've got to see their feet. I've got to see their bank. Like, You can tell what someone actually is committed to and cares about based on how they spend their time, how they spend their money, and how they engage with you. Behavior, their bank account, their calendar, if their calendar actually represents what they are spending time on. And so for me, the matter of trust, it's not that I start with mistrust, it's that I start with a willingness to allow someone to teach me and show me who they are.
Okay.
And an understanding that I'm nothing but the impact I've had on them until I've had enough of an impact on them for them to open their heart and to choose to make a committed level of depth available.
Okay. Now, I'm going to use my hands to tell him something.
Sure.
Now, we introduced trust, but twice in the conversation, once I said it and once you said it, the love that never leaves. You want to awaken the love that never leaves in people. Now, that is a tall order of 4 words put together one after another. And I'd like to unpack that. Can we? And now, in remembering that we just talked about trust and you want to look at their bank account, their calendar, and how they move, and you got us to see their feet. So please forgive me, Louis, for throwing these curved walls at you.
Your podcast, my friend. Yeah.
The love that never leaves.
How?
Sorry? Yeah.
Your question, how?
I'm questioning, because those words are all capitalized. I'm wondering if it's a title of a book. Will it be a title of a book? Is that a phrase from a song? Okay.
Yeah, so love must be a noun before it is a verb. And what I mean by that is we can look at the love that happens as a function of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine running through the nervous system and the brain because of someone's attachment circuitry latching onto someone and pair bonding through sexuality or through like emotions.
Right.
We can look at that. That is a form of love, erotic love. In ancient Greek, they had philia, which is I love you like a brother. But love, when I say it needs to be a noun before it's a verb, it needs to be a lived experience. Love is the unconditional choice to grant space and being to the humanity and experience of another. So first, in terms of the noun, is we receive it, we perceive it, we experience it being granted to us, not by another human, because humans are unreliable. Humans are inconsistent. Humans show up as humans. I can tell when someone is treating me in a way that I don't want. Like they're not reciprocating my communication or my commitment or my devotion, or they're being judgmental or aggressive or loud or obnoxious or dysfunctional. So love doesn't come from people. It comes through people when you tune to it. Love, in the sense that I'm pointing to, it's an experience where I realize that I'm already always infinitely connected. I don't need to make myself the bitch of this particular human being showing up in a particular way at a particular time in order for me to be okay. That's called codependence, right? And most people are in prostitution games pretending that they're in relationships. They are in a situation where they're using someone else to feel better about themselves or to avoid the pain that they're holding on to that they haven't dealt with inside of them.
Okay.
And then the other person doesn't give them the crack or the hit of significance and attention that they're looking for. And then they villainize that person. They judge that person. No, that's all completely unworkable. Please no. And by the way, ask me how I know.
Unless she was going to come back. That was the next question. How do you know?
Yeah, because I've been the hero, I've been the villain, I've been the victim in relationship, and I realized the profound unworkability of those, or judgment, or aggressive, loud, obnoxious relating. So find something that's awaken the love that never leaves means perceive and receive, activate inside oneself, whether it's through neurotheology or not. There's simple ways that I can reliably induce and produce an experience of it with people.
You mentioned, you did, I heard it in my mind. You mentioned the word unconditional. I think it was unconditional. It wasn't unconditionality. You said unconditional. Now, when we talk of trust, that might come out. When we talk of love, that might come out. And when we talk of unconditional love, the first example that comes to mind is the love of a parent for a child, no matter what. Okay. Now, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before you get there. You told me everything that you have to decide. You need to decide whether it's worth your gift of time, etc. This is a lot of work. Do you agree with me? That's a lot of work, right? There was a gesture that you made that obviously our listeners don't see, but when you said myself, that comes to me, you raised your hand down, and I'm thinking he's not talking about parental love. All right. So let's go back there just for a moment, because when we superimpose, please forgive me for this way of speaking, but when you put unconditionality, unconditional on top of trust, and we don't think of parents or relatives or family, can you clarify what you mean? You're very clear, Louis, but I'm trying to get from you the influence that a family may have up to a certain point, but then when we break away and stop blaming any parents for whatever we've become, you have the hand up, which could be a higher power, could be something else. What was your idea there?
Yeah, it's my hypothesis, my working model, that most people are mistaking sexual and romantic needs for unmet emotional and spiritual needs.
Okay.
Now, it's not immediately to put all the blame on the emotional needs being met by parents. It is to open us to the possibility that there is an experience and a state of being that we can cultivate and activate inside of ourselves that then makes our hungry, hunting, and neediness around sex and romance disappear.
Here, ladies and gentlemen, I can see his hand is telling me he's been there. Hungry.
100%. And anything less than your highest choice is self-sabotage. Thriving is a choice. As by the nature of the beings that we are, we're hungry for sex and connection that will enable the species to reproduce and survive. But for us individually, personally, to actually thrive and have a partner who's a good match, dating, in relating, it requires discernment. It requires freeing ourselves from that hunger, from that neediness, so that we can perceive and first receive, again, the love that never leaves, and then grant it, be a channel and a vessel for it, a vehicle for it, for others. And even then, when we're in relationship, the other person, like, we get to discern whether or not they are a good match for us continuing to feed and bloom and blossom that love inside of them.
Discern is a difficult word when we talk of things like that, because discern implies differentiating, making in some way a barrier. This is this because it's not that. It's difficult. It still puts you in a space of judgment in some way. We're only human here.
For me, judgment is different than discernment. Judgment is making someone bad or wrong for how they're showing up or what they're doing. Okay. Discernment is simply noticing what works or doesn't work given what I'm committed to. Given that I love my brain, bashing it in with this water bottle would, I discern, not be a good idea. Or given that I love my body, sticking my finger in an electric socket probably is not a good idea. Given that I love being in a functional relationship, someone who breaks their word consistently or does not engage in reliable reciprocation of communication or commitment to growing the thing, I discern that doesn't work. And so I don't have to be a jerk to discern, hey, your behavior, it doesn't work for you or for me.
Yeah.
Love confronts dysfunction, and that requires discernment.
Okay. I think we're at a point where I can safely discern that this is a man who will not cut off his ear. I can say that we've come to a decent moment where I would like to talk to you for hours, but we need to close the circle here. Cutting off his ear, the artists, of course. But let me ask you this. I wasn't joking when I said, is that the title of a book? Have you thought of putting that, The Love That Never Leaves, or are you already writing something?
Okay, I write with my life, and this is to quote Andre Gide from the existentialist work, The Immoralist. He says, I see that the great teachers, they actually write with their actions, their speaking and their connection, their communication. It's not to say I haven't written books, The Treasure of Souls Touching, A Hurricane, A Pandemic, and a Stolen Car, or A Creationship's Inception, Conscious Relating Through Polyamory, Entrepreneurship, and a Cult-ish. And it's not to say that there couldn't exist a book, The Love That Never Leaves. But for me, it actually already exists as a church, like a church in a space where I guide people into the experience of it. Because I think, regardless of the impact on my bank account through coaching package sales, the world should experience this, and the world can benefit from it. So I founded a church, which is interestingly different than the spiritual community.
Wait, I'm not sure I understood that or heard that. You founded a church?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so I founded the Church of the Love That Never Leaves.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Now, do you mind me asking more questions?
I don't mind. Yeah.
Okay. When and where and how? Can I get those answers, or is it too much?
Yeah, online at 7:00 Central to 9:00 Central on Zoom every Friday night. There is a meeting where I invite God, Source, Infinite Intelligence in to guide me intuitively to serve and support the highest thriving of those who show up in front of me. That's the meeting.
Or AM?
PM.
I'm sleeping. I won't be able to.
Very
what time
question.
That's 5 hours. No, I can't. I will never show up.
We can have another conversation after the podcast. But so there's that. And then at 4 p.m. Central on a Friday every month, there's the Mystic Cruise. So the Church of the Love That Never Leaves is let's get people thriving. Let's help them to activate and access this. Mystic Cruise is where we ask the questions of what is the meaning of this? Even I don't fully understand why this stuff works or what it means or which of the 50,000 different interpretations of scripture, 100,000 different interpretations of spirituality we ought to follow. I just know what works.
Yeah.
And I stand for it for people so that their life can work better.
I'm laughing because as we're recording this now and the Winter Olympics are in Milan and Cortina 2026. Now, most of the athletes from all over the world came in and started saying, how could they not be so fat? All they eat is carbohydrates, this and sweets. And I was laughing. And one athlete made a video and said, look, I wanted to put it to the test. He got on the scale. He was, and I'm going to say it in kilograms because that's what he showed us, was 68 kilograms and 0.8 or something like that. Maybe 160 pounds, maybe 150. Then he showed slices of 2 weeks' time where he was shoving his face with pizza, all kinds of pasta and all of that. At the end, he got on the scale again and he had lost almost a full kilo, almost 2.2 pounds after 2 weeks of eating like that. And as you're talking, you talked about the church. I don't know why it works. Another athlete said, but it's community. People are talking to it. They're together. The idea of community and coming together is such a strong dynamic. I don't know if I'm just talking off the top of my head, but I think that the church also has that function, doesn't it?
Yeah. When you point to that, we could talk about the social, psychological, emotional benefits of people gathering in community. And those are not nothing. Those are important. Right. Belonging and conversation, sharing. For me, when I look at it, I think of what Napoleon Hill talks about with the Think and Grow Rich, the mastermind.
Yeah.
Where when two or more minds, I like to call it the master heart, where two or more minds and hearts are present together, more becomes possible for those connected if they're gathered in common cause with similar focus, intention, vibration, values, vision. And anyone who discovers that there's a love that never leaves, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump between that and them wanting to experience it.
Of course.
And then it's only a hop, skip, and a jump from that to them wanting to experience it all the time. Because which would you choose? A life where love is this intermittent thing reliant on humans paying attention to you and making you feel significant and making them your God, making your happiness and your joy and your love dependent on their presence or absence, their participation or contribution. And it's okay to have things like them, their participation, their contribution, so long as those things don't have you. And if you can't be without it, then those things have you and you are the slave of those things. And so freeing human potential, sovereignty, thriving, capacity is what I'm interested in. First through language and distinctions, then through facilitation and experience, and then making it like a new way to be human.
Yeah.
A new way to be human that I think people like Christ and Buddha and Rumi and Jonathan England, a friend of mine, are all committed to, right? That they embody. It was a real like internal experience. The kingdom of God is within you, we might talk about. And then from there, they were able to overflow out into the world, not giving to get, but giving because they get to give.
That's it.
Imagine a relationship, imagine a politics, imagine a society, a civilization lived from that perspective. Let's go. That's what I'm about.
Maybe I could send a couple of politicians your way to that church. Hope it works.
Happy. If you know some and you want to send them my link, I'm happy to take calls with them, or I have them on my church service, gift them some of my books. We can talk. Like, imagine.
Stop, Louis, please. Or else I'm never going to put the period at the end of our talk. Thank you.
7 to 9 more minutes. We can work magic and miracles in that time. So I realize we're coming close to the end, but
miracle worker. That's what I'm going to call it.
I expect miracles and I get miracles on a regular basis. Yeah.
It was a joy. It was just a joy to talk to you, Louis, really, sincerely. And I do hope that we have another opportunity in the future to talk again.
I'm absolutely open to be invited back. Yeah. Or to have more conversations with you personally.
Thank you. And I hope to see you back on this show. I hope I can count on that. Bye-bye, Louis. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow Let's Talk Soul Podcast on Instagram. Let's Talk Soul Podcast is a production of Electrocast Media. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. If you like our show and like what you hear, please subscribe and give us a rating wherever you enjoy podcasts. And remember, stay curious, stay inspired, and never stop exploring the depths of your soul.
For those of you who dream of a world where music and podcasts live together in perfect harmony, now, for the first time, Electrocast gives you a magical compilation, Pod Till You Drop, Volume 1, where we give you the best in tunes and the best in podcasts. Feast your ears and hear the culture. Available now wherever you listen to music.